Coming up, Tzu Chi volunteers visit the Miyagi Prefecture in Japan once again to check on their old friends. We take a look at how Tzu Chings in Taiwan represent the charity organization by being good role models in societies. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. It has been 4 years since the Great East Japan earthquake on March 11, 2011. Every year since the disaster, Tzu Chi volunteers in Tokyo visit the survivors 3 times a year to follow up. During their latest visit to Miyagi Prefecture, 85-year-old Ito told them it was thanks to Tzu Chi's help and subsequent companionship after losing her home and son that she has the strength to live.
Accepting a gift and a charm from the Tzu Chi volunteers, Ito Yasuko expresses her gratitude.
Your companionship lets me know that I'm not alone. Your images are deeply embedded in my mind.
Living on her own, it is the love and care of the Tzu Chi volunteers that has helped the 85-year-old senior get through the tough times over these past 4 years.
I feel glad that I have been helped by this charity organization.
This blanket is still filled with the warmth of the volunteers' love. In 2011, despite concerns of radiation leaks around Fukushima, Tzu Chi volunteers in Japan entered the hard-hit areas to look after the residents. To this day, volunteers return to the area 3 times a year to hold tea gatherings. This time, they find one resident carrying around Tzu Chi's red envelope of blessing and wisdom, like an amulet for good luck.
After returning from Tokyo, I've told myself that I need to change. I need to leave sadness behind. Volunteers told me to leave the past in the past and look to the future. So I've cleared out my deceased daughter's items and saved only the 40 solde for the coming-of-age ceremony.
The over 1,400 days of love and care has helped many of the residents of Japan's northeast to leave the terror of the 3/11 earthquake behind once and for all.
The nurses at Tzu Chi's dialysis center in Penang, Malaysia, recently went the extra mile to help one patient's family. The patient's husband was sent to a nursing home following a stroke, where he later developed bed sores. Learning at the couple's plight, Tzu Chi's dialysis center's nurses have been taking turns to come and clean his wounds.
Dialysis patient Chen Xuanxi's husband, Peng Jingyuan, lies on the bed helplessly. He was sent to a nursing home after having a stroke in February, as Chen Xuanxi does not have the strength to care for him.
He cannot eat nor talk. It takes a lot of strength to care for him, but I'm too weak to turn his body since he is big. So I sent him to the nursing home and he cannot accept this.
Chen Xuanxi, who has no children, relied on her husband after falling ill in 2011. Now that her husband is bedridden, the nurses are worried that her despair will affect her health.
She solely relies on her husband. Now that her husband is ill, we should help her family as well. If her family recovers, she will live better. I brought the nurses to visit my husband, and they found that his bed sores are serious. The nurses said his wounds need to be cleaned, so they come to clean them every day.
After finding out Peng Jingyuan has serious bed sores, the nurses at Tzu Chi Dialysis Center have been caring for him since March.
These kind of bed sores don't heal that easily. We need to clean the wounds at least twice a day. The maid at the nursing home does a good job, but they lack medical supplies. Maybe we need to give them some supplies.
The nurses are doing their best to help Chen Xuanxi, who despaired over her husband's illness, and hope their efforts will ensure a better quality of life for this old couple.
To battle drought and dry season, farmers need to collect rainwater, which can then be used for irrigation purposes. Unfortunately, with the illegal dumping of toxic industrial waste being so rampant, the water coming from these ponds may not necessarily be suitable for irrigation.
The problem of water shortage in Taiwan is forcing the public to investigate what is happening to this invaluable resource.
Water midstream and downstream has mostly been polluted already.
Due to technological advancements, Taiwan's manufacturing sector is constantly being revamped. However, the waste produced is also getting more toxic.
This is the result of lack of pollution control at the source.
After the water in this pond has dried up, one sees the extent of the problem.
你来看，那诡异的绿，有没有？唉，我想说这国家到底是怎么了？对啊。
Puddles of water in the dried up pond appears greenish in color.
水边被水浸过的，然后所以颜色比较深。
Environmental activists who constantly monitor the illegal dumping of industrial waste have made a startling discovery.
1800左右。土壤管制标准是400，然后这边1800。
Pretty much every measurement taken in the surrounding area reveals off the charts copper contamination.
1800、1900。
We have had 1800, 1900, and now 2059 ppm. From when we stepped into this pond to here, not one reading was normal. They are all between 1800 and 2000, way more than the legal limit.
The former irrigation pond became home to toxic waste, rendering its water unusable.
污染高度超过土地年品质指标的938倍，锌64倍，镍19倍，镉24倍。
This documentary, produced by Taiwan Watch, talks about how waste full of heavy metals slowly killed off the ecosystem at Shenmei-pi. Even the channeled apple snail, known for its enduring vitality, is killed off, leaving only its greenish shell behind.
绿色福寿螺这边就越来越
You see more and more of the snails as we move inward, and see how the shells all carry a greenish hue that gets darker as we come in.
The greener the shell become, the heavier the pollution gets.
Zinc 44,000 ppm, copper 21,000 ppm, nickel 2,300 ppm. This is actually very scary.
The farms that feed off the pond's water had been turned upside down because of the contamination. Ironically, it was the licensed waste processing plant next to the pond that had caused the pollution. The plant processed all industrial waste from high-tech sectors. In 2013, the high-tech industry produced 400,000 tons of industrial waste, which was supposedly sent off to waste processing plants like this one. Instead, news of illegal dumping and contamination made headlines regularly, with at least 13 rivers affected.
The concrete embankment of irrigation channels had been corroded, and copper sulfate and other heavy metals contaminated the water.
这个位置
Right here, where copper is some 20,000 ppm and zinc is some 3,000 ppm. When it rains, the contaminants are carried away. The farms that get their water from the channel are pretty much done for. North of Taoyuan, there isn't a piece of good farmland. The water all comes from the irrigation channels.
Industrial development has led to an environmental crisis in Taiwan. Perhaps it is as Chao Rui-Guang said, what is wrong with this country? For nothing is being done to prevent such contaminations to our ground and water, which allows the toxins to enter our food supply, killing us off slowly, just as they did.
Typically, March is monsoon season in Taiwan. However, the rain was minimal last month and did nothing to fill up the country's 33 reservoirs. Thus, the government has begun enforcing water rationing in several areas. Before we check on the students at the affected Liyuan Elementary in Linkou of New Taipei City, we first travel to the Zhenwen Reservoir in Tainan to understand the severity of the water shortage problem and its cause. The Southern Region Water Resources Office of the Water Resources Agency is taking advantage of the ongoing drought to dredge the upstream area of Zhenwen Reservoir.
The water used to be a lot higher. Now it's all dried up.
The dry surface of the reservoir has even cracked open. The situation is really serious. The reservoir had an original capacity of 740 million cubic meters of water, but after more than 40 years of use, more than one-third of the capacity has been taken up by sediment, of which most came from Typhoon Morakot.
Morakot brought some 91 million cubic meters of sediment. To remove it, we need 6.2 million dump trucks, which when connected together can go around the planet 1.86 times.
The Wushantou Reservoir that supplies irrigation water to the Jianan Plain and the Nanhua Reservoir that provides water for citizens each have their own sedimentation problems. Experts are calling for a halt for all development near and upstream of all reservoirs to reduce the risk of landslides and erosion. Otherwise, the problem will only get worse. Over at the Liyuan Elementary School in New Taipei City, due to mandatory water rationing, students will be without water for 2 days a week. They will have to get their water from a bucket, and this means no more pool time either.
不能像以前一样这么自由自在用水，就要自己节制点。洗手时候水龙头要锁紧。
The slanted roof of the top of the school in Linkou is for collecting rainwater. With it, the school can reduce its dependency on tap water.
In 3 years, we have collected a total of 1.94 million tons of water. Our water usage over the last 3 years was 1.8 million tons. So this rainwater collection system is really useful.
All collected rainwater is sent to holding tanks such as this one and then sent to water towers above.
From this pipe is the water stored in the basement, which is then stored in this water tower.
The water can then be used for gardening and cleaning, which helps the school conserve on water resources. Though water rationing is troublesome, the school is doing its part to contribute to water conservation. To help members of the public identify with Tzu Chi, a group of youngsters in Tainan, Taiwan believes that doing good role models in society is the best way for them to represent the Tzu Chi organization. Besides striving for good grades in school, these students also engage themselves in community service by joining the Tzu Ching Club. They say dedicating their strength and time to the betterment of others not only can inspire the public to identify with Tzu Chi, but also encourage even more to join their ranks.
这是你吗？
对啊，瘦瘦的。
A group of students laughing at a picture displayed on the computer screen. What are they looking at? Although these students didn't graduate the same year, today they have returned to the Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School to share their memories.
My math wasn't that great when I was in high school, so I often stayed after school to ask questions. Sometimes I would stay past dinner time, but my teacher never complained or asked me to go home. My teacher always made sure I understood everything. I have received plenty of warmth by being a student at the Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School and a Tzu Ching.
Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School alumna Cai Wanyu says her years at the school have had a profound impact on her. When Cai was in the 12th grade, she accumulated more than 170 hours of community service. By partaking in volunteer work, students at the school, including Cai, discovered the joy of giving.
When I first entered college, my fellow Tzu Ching upperclassmen treated me nicely and offered me a warm smile. Their gestures reminded me of the good old days at the Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School.
I started volunteering when I was in high school. I love volunteering because it is interesting. Now I'm an active volunteer and love doing what I do. Nobody really knew much about me when I entered society, except that I graduated from Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School, or that I'm a Tzu Ching. People will think that I'm just a part of the Tzu Chi Foundation, so I constantly remind myself to watch my conduct. I have to be a good role model.
Being a good role model for others to follow is the goal this group of youngsters has set for themselves. After beginning their studies in college, these students joined the Tzu Ching Club, which focuses on doing community service. Keeping their just do it philosophy close to heart, despite the recent controversy surrounding Tzu Chi, they remain firm in their beliefs.
When people see a senior picking up recyclables, they probably will think that it is disgusting, or they don't want to touch the unwanted items at all. When doing good deeds, the most important thing is to contribute ourselves wholeheartedly. I have so much strength compared to the seniors, so if the grandma can pick up recyclables, why can't I?
I first met Tzu Chi some 20 years ago when I was in high school. Yes, when she told me that she wants to become a Tzu Ching, I told her that I fully support her decision. I think Tzu Chi is a great organization.
Instead of wasting the best time of their life, this group of youngsters seize every chance to dedicate themselves to the betterment of others. Furthermore, with the support of their parents, they have gained even more courage to spread goodness, truth, and beauty far and wide. Over the years, Master Zhen often encourages Tzu Chings to shoulder the organization's missions during their spare time. Taking the Master's words to heart, Tzu Ching Zhang Xuping, who is currently a graduate student at the Communication Department of Tzu Chi University, takes advantage of every opportunity to give. In our next report, let's take a look at how Zhang dedicates herself to voluntary service while striving for good grades. Browsing through the library shelves is Tzu Ching Zhang Xuping, who is a graduate student of the Communication Department of Tzu Chi University. To make sure she has enough time to study and volunteer, Zhang has learned to use her time wisely.
Master Zhen hopes that Tzu Chings can shoulder Tzu Chi's missions during their spare time. Being a Tzu Ching has helped me discover my path in life and use my time more wisely. By serving others, I have learned to change for the better. To help her counterparts better prepare for their voluntary service in Sichuan, Zhang not only shares her past experiences in volunteering overseas, but also helps them organize their trip. Every person has limited strength, but when everyone gathers together, the collective strength will be stronger. I have formed strong bonds with others and met a lot of like-minded individuals by working together as a team. Every summer, students and faculty at the Tzu Chi University, Tzu Chings, and members of the Tzu Chi Teachers Association will travel to China to care for those affected by the 2008 Sichuan earthquake.
We've gained so much from volunteering in Sichuan. When locals take the lesson we taught them to heart, they also pass it on to even more people. The cycle of love and compassion just keeps on going.
Whether it is spreading information of their upcoming events or passing on eco-friendly tips, Tzu Chings utilize social media to encourage even more youngsters to join their ranks.
By using social media, we hope to share positive news or useful tips with our peers. When seeing the number of Facebook likes on our page, I know that many web users have been touched by our dedication. I also learned that a lot of people are following our footsteps too.
When young people gather together, they have the strength to change the world. By partaking in community service such as providing tutorial service for indigenous children, Tzu Chings hope their footsteps can encourage even more to dedicate their lives to the betterment of others. The National澎湖Marine and Fishery Vocational High School collaborated with Tzu Chi volunteers to promote recycling around the campus. After recycling with the volunteers, students learned that recycling can only be effective if everyone can rinse the recyclables clean before discarding them.
In澎湖Island, students try to separate recyclables into their proper categories. However, the seemingly simple task of recycling is actually harder than expected.
This belongs to a different group. We need to sort the recyclables properly so it is easier for the recycling companies to sort them later. We should separate the straws from the bottles because they are different materials.
Students cannot distinguish between Tetra Pak, PET bottle, and plastic. As volunteers explain the different categories of recyclables further, students became more knowledgeable and careful about recycling. Students of National澎湖Marine and Fishery Vocational High School gained a rewarding experience through sorting recyclables around their campus.
If the person did not rinse the recyclable before discarding it, then the recyclable collectors will need to clean out the growing maggots.
It smells really bad. You should rinse the recyclables before throwing them away. Otherwise, they will stink.
Purification begins at the source. Students have gained tremendous joy after cleaning up the recyclables around their campus.
Next, we meet Tzu Chi volunteer Halim Kusin and his family. After his son attended a Tzu Chi moral education class, Halim started to keep records for Tzu Chi and arrange morning Dharma sessions for his Dharma relatives. Diligently walking on the Tzu Chi path, the Kusin family is always the first to arrive and the last to leave the school.
At 6 in the morning, the Kusin family is ready to attend a morning lecture at a Tzu Chi kindergarten in Indonesia, Singkaran. And they're always the first ones to arrive.
By attending the morning lecture, I clear my mind and open my heart. I should attend a lecture as often as I can, as it can gradually remove the vexations from my heart.
After his son attended Tzu Chi moral education class, he started to make documentary for Tzu Chi. Being a Tzu Chi volunteer has drastically changed his lifestyle.
Kalau saya boleh bilang, sudah hampir 180 derajat saya berubah.
I have changed completely. I used to have a bad temper, but I'm more patient now.
Tentang diri, kebahagiaan dalam keluarga.
Tzu Chi has changed the Kusin family's perspective of life. Even though they no longer live a luxurious lifestyle due to an economic downturn, they are spiritually richer than ever.
We've learned to be grateful for what we have by knowing the hardship others endure.
The Kusin family are not only the first ones to arrive at the lectures, but also the last ones to leave. This kind of dedication has brought peace and blessings to their family.
We go to Hualien, Taiwan at the end of the show, where Tzu Chi volunteers visit 8 different police stations with Jingsi aphorisms and fruit to thank hardworking officers for their effort in keeping citizens safe and secure. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.